All right, so my name is Jawad Alzeer. I'm the founder and the director of Swiss Scientific Society for Development Countries in Switzerland. And today I would like to introduce you my new concept in medicine called Halalopathy or permissible medicine. So in this context, I would like to tell you how one can develop better prevention and how one can also achieve complete recovery or better or more effective treatment. So now, next slide. So I have been trained as an organic medicinal chemist, so I spend most of my time designing a drug in the lab, particularly for cancer. And I was always surprised by two factors, two things. First, whenever we design a drug and then this drug is approved and goes to the market, you look at the therapeutic value of the newly approved drug, compare it to the existing drug in the market, we always notice that the therapeutic improvement is very little. It's very limited, not very significant. And I got always surprised because so much effort, time, money, the outcome is very, very little. Well, sometimes you might say this is science and research. So the second point is the concept complete recovery does not exist in the dictionary of cancer therapy. And the best option for patient is just to achieve complete remission. And my question is always why it is not possible to achieve complete remission. Now, complete recovery. Now, of course, if you work in cancer therapy, this is what is expected. Can you go to next? Now, cancer for us is a very complex disease. Cancer cells are not anymore compatible with our brain and with our body. So they do not receive any more informations and commands from the brain, and they have their own system, and that's why they start dividing forever. And the best option, of course, if we could find a way how to stop cancer cell division or to revert cancer cells into normal cell. Now, the current treatment, which is going everywhere, is just focus on how to reduce the load of cancer cells in our body. And next slide. And what is usually done? So cancer cells, either it is cut off by surgery, or it is burned by radiation, or it is toxified by chemicals. And in theory, if one cell remain in our body, which has the tendency to divide forever, it will make cancer still has the possibility to regrow once again. And that's why one can understand why cancer patients need to be controlled forever, to be under control. Otherwise, cancer will come back. Now, if you go to the next slides. Now, indeed, those scientists whom they are working in cancer therapy in particular, they all can see that there is a wall which cannot be broken. So we cannot make any breakthrough this wall to reach the concept of complete recovery. And that's why, indeed, most of the scientists, particularly those at universities, they're just interested in what? In making publications, high standard journals, and getting promotions, apply for grants, getting money, make a nice story, travel the world, and talk about their own research. So in reality, it's not, they know that there is a wall which cannot be broken, but they're trying their best and they keep on revolving door, which is always staying in the part of allopathic concept. Now, industry, they are really interested in designing a drug because this is how they want to make money. They know that there is a wall which is not easy to penetrate, and they try all best, moving from single molecules. Nowadays, they are now moving to mRNA technology. They are hoping one day they will discover how do you call this, the magic bullet, which could really resolve the problem from the root. Now, in reality, there are successful stories we know in every society where people succeeded to defeat cancer. Now, those stories achieve complete recovery. Now, when those stories are presented to scientists and physicians, the outcome is really scientific society, they are divided in this case. One part, they think those people, they had a mistake in the diagnosis. So it means that they never had cancer, and that's why they have this complete recovery. Now, the other part, they do believe, yes, they had cancer, but something unusual happened to their immune system, which make it possible to overcome the problem of cancer disease and achieve complete recovery. And this type of recovery, they call it miraculous recovery. So in other words, to break this wall, we need a miracle. Now, miracle, by definition, it is an event which cannot be reproduced. Now, if you are a scientist and you think what's going on, you will always come to conclusion, if we can understand the circumstances which led for the miracle to take place, maybe we can make this event really reproducible. And for me, I really started studying all those cases whom they achieve complete recovery. And it's very clear those people, they did not depend solely on the therapeutic value of the drug. They activated additional values. And in other words, my conclusion is like that. A complete recovery, or you want to call it miraculous recovery, is possible for people whom they have prepared mind to achieve complete recovery. Now we go to the next. Now in the next slides, this is why here I introduced the concept halalopathy. The idea is I would like to explore the therapeutic, the favorable circumstances which is necessary to create the right environment to achieve complete recovery. So we need to activate the will to cure in the patients. And in this case, the patients must be involved in the therapy. And if you completely independence on the chemical value of the drug, you will always achieve partial recovery, and there is no way to achieve a complete recovery unless we activate additional values, which I will talk later. Now, as I said in the beginning, so complete recovery is possible for people whom they have a prepared mind. And in this way, we need to involve the mind as a part in the therapy. And next slide. For this reason, I started looking for biological processes which is taking place in our body, which are essential, which are also influenced by what we eat, what we talk, and also what we behave. And I came to conclusion there are two interesting biological processes. One, namely, is catabolic, and the other is anabolic processes. Now, I studied both processes from chemistry perspective, not as a doctor, a medical doctor, but as a chemist. And I would like to explain for you as a chemist. For example, when I look at the catabolic process, or you can call it catabolic reaction, you start from a large molecule, say like protein, And this large molecule or macromolecules, it goes through catabolic process, so it will be broken down into smaller molecule or micromolecule. So you start with a large molecule, which has a well-defined structure, which is rich in information. It has a function and it has a potential. And you end up with many small molecules, which have less well-defined structure, less information, and less potential. Now, you can ask the question, the catabolic process, this process is spontaneous. And why it is spontaneous? And spontaneous means it does not require energy for this process or for this reaction to take place. And usually any things you have to do, it required energy, but catabolic process in the body does not require energy. On the contrary, it gives you energy. And this is how when we take a glucose molecule and break it down to small molecules like carbon dioxide and water, for each one molecule of a glucose, you can generate around 38 units of ATP. So now the second question is, what is anabolic? And anabolic is exactly opposite to catabolic. So you have so many small molecules, you collect them, and then you build a large molecule which has a function rich in information and has a potential. Now, the anabolic process, it is not easy process. It's not spontaneous, and it required energy. It means if we do not have adequate energy for this process, anabolic process will not take place. So my conclusion is catabolic process is driven by entropy because we start with a molecule which is highly ordered, and we end up with many molecules which are highly disordered. And that's why it is spontaneous and driven by entropy. And anabolic process is driven by potential energy. If there is potential energy available, then anabolic process is possible. Now, let's go to the next slide. Now, let's try to understand what is the difference between potential energy and entropy. Now, both of them, they are a form of energy. Now, in case of potential energy, usually the molecules or particles are moving in a highly organized waves, and they build a compatible system with our brain, and that's why they are constantly receiving informations and order. And therefore, the location of the potential, whether it is in cells, organs, or tissues, are rich in information. And this is the healthy situation, and the normal cells are usually they usually have high potential. And and in case and the information which is coming to the brain, usually it is in the form of, yes, a command, and you have, because you have the potential, and the potential energy is the ability to do work. And therefore, once the potential energy is available in that location, it will do a productive and constructive work for our health. Now, in case of entropy, entropy, in this case, molecules and particles are moving not anymore in a highly ordered waves, but in a highly disordered waves. So they're moving randomly, different directions. And unfortunately, because they are moving randomly, the probability of collisions between those molecules or those particles are increasing, and it will generate heat. So potential energy generate work, entropy generate heat. Now, why heat is bad for our body? Now let's go to the next slides. Now in the next slide, protein, when it has a function, usually it has a well-defined structure, and it is self-assembled. It has high potential, full of information, and it does always a useful and a productive function because it has a potential. Now, if this protein is exposed to heat, then the protein, the structure of the protein or the protein folding will be denatured. It will generate the same sequence of the protein is still there, but we start having more freedom in the structure of the proteins, more rotations, more conformations, and in other words, we have more entropy. So the potential energy and entropy, they are connecting with each other. If entropy is increased, quickly potential energy is decreased, and vice versa. And this is and usually after the protein is exposed to this heat, it has two options. Either it will go through a catabolic process where it will be broken down into basic amino acid units, and it will be also reused once again for building a new protein. But sometimes those deformated proteins are not anymore. They are resistant to catabolic, and they are accumulating in our body. And this is how we look. After sometimes we start looking old and start having more disease. Our body start having more tendency to have disease because we have an accumulation of these type of proteins which have less potential and more entropy. Now, let's go to the next slides. Now, I wanted first to talk how one could utilize those essential key factors which are existing in our body, how one could utilize them to achieve a healthy life. Now, human by definition is a collection of feeling and sensation and highly influenced by the environment. So the information we receive usually they are of two forms. One type of information, they are supportive, and the other type of information, they are distractive. Now, the distractive information, they are also of two types. Either it will excite us to do a job or something, or it will inhibit us to stop us from doing something. Now, for this reason, I believe we exist in three phases, and the best phase is the high potential phase. This high potential phase, it means we have available potential energy in our body. It means our immune system is in the fighting mood. And if our immune system is in the fighting mood, any error or damage or mutation can be sensed and quickly corrected. Now, if our body is exposed to information which has connection to worry and all, or afraid or tension, neurons transmitters from our brain, which are usually excitatory neurons transmitters, will be generated. And now, if the situation is temporary, there is no problem. But if the situation become permanent, then this is a disease, and this is what they call it anxiety. Now, this situation, our immune system is not anymore in the fighting mood, but it is in the frightened mood. And this is a high disorder phase where the entropy is very high and the potential is very low. Again, the third phase is when our body is exposed to information which is connected to sadness, grief, and desperate, and so on. In this case, neurons transmitters, which are connected to inhibitory neurotransmitters will be generated in our brain. And this, if it is temporary, it's fine. But if it is permanent, then it is a depression. This is also a disease where our potential energy is suppressed and our immune system is in the flight mode. Now, when our immune system is in the flight mode, it means we don't have enough energy to deal with anything. We just, our immune system always will be in the escaping mode. And if there is any error, any damage, any mutation, it will be bypassed. And this mutation, if it is accumulated, it will generate on the long run genetic disease. In the case of the frightened mood, where anxiety is dominating, then our immune system, there is energy, but it is not focused anymore. It's like shooting in the dark. It could shoot a friend and it could shoot an enemy. And this is an environment for an autoimmune disease. And therefore, the best phase we should maintain is the high potential phase where our immune system is in the fighting mood. And this is possible to achieve if we can fight grief and if we can fight fear. Fear and grief are the source of all disease. And they are in our hand, and we can, if we prepare our mind always to be in the high potential, then we can easily eliminate the anxiety and the depression. And now we go to the next slide. Now, this is just quickly the sources of potential energy. You have two sources where they have a green aspect of where one of them is the anabolic thinking and positivity, and the second one where you have to make exercise. Now this is a good source of potential energy. The third potential energy source is from food, but because we take food and we have to process this food in our body, so catabolic process will be activated. We will generate many small molecules. In other words, we are creating a lot of entropy in our body, so we have to be careful when we eat, to be selective and to focus on the quality and not on the quantity. Next slide. So the hypothesis of halalopathy, basically, we have, let's say, we have we need catabolic process in the life. We need anabolic process in the life, but we have to be smart enough to create a balance between them. Now, for anabolic process, it favors people. It favors people whom they have goals in life. Whereas catabolic process, it favors people where they are most of the time spontaneous and have no goals in life. And if you see that catabolic process is easily, let's say, it is easy to reach because it is even driven by gravity. Whereas anabolic process, we have to go against gravity. In the end, we have to admit gravity wins, and that's why we die. But there is a huge difference between someone who dies after leaving a fingerprint or someone who dies without being noticed by someone. So next. Now, in case someone got cancer, when the news comes to the patient that you have cancer, in reality, he start or she start with one disease and end up with 3 diseases. Besides having cancer, they will get anxiety and depression. Now, how to handle the situation? Well, first of all, we have to implement the principles which I mentioned them in prevention. Second, we have to find ways how to create a compatible system within the body of the patient. Therefore, we have we have to build a connection between mind, body, and therapy. And now, how to make this connection? Every person has his own lifestyle, and lifestyle for every individual is considered to be the ideal. Now, we need to find ways how to link lifestyles with the drug we want to use or the medicine we want to deal with. So, therefore, it is important. This is good because it will enhance cause effect information. And for this reason, we have to evaluate the drug before it is going to the market and to see if it match our based on if the ingredients matching our lifestyles or not. For example, there are people whom they are vegan, so it is necessary to make sure this drug is free from any animal ingredients. The same for vegetarian, also for kosher, halal, and there are also people whom they have sensitivity toward chemicals like gluten, lactose, glucose. So we have to make sure that the drug we offer to the patient is precisely compatible with the lifestyle of the patient. And this is how we can create a compatible system. Besides creating a compatible system, the patient will have more trust in this drug, and this will activate the placebo effect. And at the same time, we are using a drug which has a therapeutic value. Go to the next slides, please. And now, if somebody gets sick with a simple disease and you take a drug, there is no problem. Usually, because your body is not under huge stress, your potential is not dispersed. Therefore, your immune system will deal with the rest. But if someone got a disease like a complex disease like cancer, therapeutic effect alone is not enough. You need an added effect. And therefore, it is important to activate the placebo effect. So we have to increase the trust of the patient in the drug. And this is coming, of course, by building a compatible system or a matching system between the lifestyle of the patients and the drug. And now you will notice we have more than one effect. Besides the therapeutic effect, we have placebo effect, homogeneous effect. And I tell you in biology, in science, if you have more than one effect going in the same direction, working in coordination, you will always have a bonus effect, which we call it synergistic effect. And I believe this synergistic effect could explain the concept of miraculous recovery. Next. So that's my concept of halalopathy. Just started a few years ago. I started publishing it in form of manuscripts, and I'm building the concept and to be connected to all types of disease, and hopefully we can offer people prevention and complete recovery. But here we give responsibility for the patient to be part of the therapy and not to be completely dependent on the therapeutic value of the medicine. In the end, last slide, thank you for your attention. I'll be happy to answer any question you have.